player to player, pimp to pimp.
That's right, everyone. It didn't get any more gangster than yesterday with Tyrod Taylor, the OG QB, stepping up and helping out the New York Giants defeat the Washington Commanders 14-17. The defense came up big. They came up like 7-up. But, you know, at the end of the day, the quarterback gets the win. You know, I find it funny. The quarterback is the only one in the NFL outside the head coaches that has a win-loss record. And we've talked about this before. The quarterbacks gets too much of the praise when they win, and they also get too much of the blame when they lose. So I always take it with a grain of salt. Yesterday was a team effort, 100% a team effort. The defense stepped up big in the first half, had some issues in the second half, and we're gonna kind of go through. We did a video yesterday right after the game, but I kind of want to talk about some of the issues that the Giants had with play calling in the second half, some of the issues the defense had in the second half, because it really was a tale of two halves. And if you look at it, the Giants probably should have had at least 13 additional points. Kayvon doesn't drop that interception. He's got, I mean, how do you drop that? I mean, honestly, you're supposed to be this 20-something-year-old stud athlete, and he throws the ball right to you. And I know you're not a wide receiver or a tight end, but come on. And then we also had the Saquon Barkley fumble, which at least you figure was going to be 3 points. And then you had the Graham Gano miss, which was 3 points. So right there is 13. So this game was a little bit closer than it needed to be. But it really was the tale of two halves. And there was a story reported, I think it was Pat Leonard, on Sunday morning, that Brian Dable, and I'm not saying the story's true and I'm not saying the story's false, but I do find it interesting that he was the only one to report it, or the fact that it came out so late in the process. It didn't come out during the week. It came out on Sunday that Brian Dable took over all of the responsibilities in the offensive meetings for the entire week. That he basically ran the offensive meetings like he did going back to Buffalo. And I can't tell you if that's true or not, because the Giants still only put up 14 points. And there was multitudes of what I would like to refer to as suspect play calling in that second half. And I think that it's something we need to look at. If you take a look at the Giants' first half, they were moving the ball efficiently. They were moving the ball on the ground and in the air, but they used a good mixture of pass and run plays to kind of complement each other. And it really did keep Washington off balance. It didn't allow the deficiencies in the offensive line to be so prevalent with the way they were calling the plays. They were mixing it up brilliantly. I mean, though they only scored 14 first half points, I was thinking they could get another 14 in the second half. You score 28 points in the game, you think you got it won. You think you got it wrapped up. And then they went in at halftime. And this has been the problem with the Giants under Dable, and even going back to Joe Judge. It's the halftime adjustment. And I'm not saying that the Giants didn't make the correct halftime adjustments. I just found it interesting that the play calling all of a sudden shifted. It was all of a sudden we are going to run almost exclusively, it seemed like, on first down. There was no more, taking a shot deep on first down. There was no, play action pass. It was almost like they were making a concerted effort to, and of course you always want to win the game, but it was almost like they were making a concerted effort to try and not lose the game. That they were trying to sit there and say, "Hey, listen, we're not gonna lose this. What we're gonna do is we are going to effectively work the clock, and our defense is playing well. So let's try." And move, like there was matriculate the ball down the field, like you always do. But you look at what they did at certain times. It was 6 plays, 29 yards. Had the ball for 240. Then you had 3 and out. Then you had 3 and out. And then you had a nice 10-play drive. Then you had, So I mean, it's just weird that they just seem to, at times, just kind of go in the tank a little bit. The Giants. Tyrod Taylor has like 60 plus touchdowns and only 30 interceptions. He's not a guy that's going to put the ball in the hands of the defense. You showed that you had the ability to go deep, to take shots. And you did that with Jalen, and you showed that you can open up the defense by doing that, especially in the first half. And you can kind of confuse them a little bit because we always now listen, our offensive line is bad. Washington's offensive line is just as terrible. But you could show the ability and not worry so much about the fact that you're going to take the sack, because if you can keep the defense off balance, then you can keep them guessing, then you can mitigate the rush. Now, the problem was, like I said, in the second half, it seemed like the Giants were just it kind of seemed like the Giants just kind of went into this kind of, we're not going to lose by letting them beat us, in reference to, having a turnover, having something else. And like I said, you had a bunch of series that were just 3-and-outs. And if you take a look, like I said, it just kind of didn't make sense. And then when you did throw on first down, you followed up with a 1-yard run for Saquon Barkley, so you put yourself at 3rd and 9. And it kind of followed that pattern going into the second half. And I don't know what changed. I don't understand why they just didn't stick with a philosophy that worked. And I'm not saying that Brian Daboll was calling the plays. I'm not saying that Mike Kafka was calling the plays. I just find it interesting that you had this article that Brian Daboll took over the play calling. They looked like a totally different offense in that first half, and then they looked like a totally different offense in that second half. And I don't know what changed when they went into the locker room. Tyrod didn't. Tyrod played well. Tyrod did everything you expected a 34-year-old quarterback to do. 18 to 29, 279, averaged 9.6 yards a play, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he did what you needed him to do. Added another 25 yards. So if this was Daniel Jones, we would say, well, he had 300 yards in total offense. He had a length run of 20 yards as well. So he did what needed to be done. You had 32 carries for 106 for the Giants, but you only averaged 3.3 yards a carry. So I don't know. I don't know what changed, because then if you took a look at what was going on in the first half defensively, we were getting pressure rushing 5. And, normally, like I said, most of the time you rush 5, but we got pressure rushing 5 with, 4 on the front line and bringing either a linebacker or safety in. But we got a lot of pressure in that first half doing that. Now, I talk about when Ricky Stromberg came in, it kind of the whole complexion of the line kind of shifted a little bit. But also, I think Wink didn't go. I don't think he continued to go with that type of rush. They showed a stat on CBS, the amount of pressure the Giants were getting if they rushed 5, and then against when they rushed 4. And I don't think they were laying back in coverage. I just didn't see the same intensity and same blitzing and the same, you want to say, what's a good word? The same, I don't know what to say. It just wasn't the same in the second half. There wasn't very many exotic blitzes in the second half. Again, it was almost like we're going to keep Washington in front of us, and we were going to stop them from scoring instead of going into an attacking style defense. So really, like I said, this game could have gotten ugly quick, but we did come up with some big plays. We came up with that nice Jalen Hyatt pass that, of course, we had the fumble with Saquon Barkley that helped, really helped, move the ball down the field. In other words, to me, it was like a long punt at that point in time, even if you missed, because of the fact that they still had to come down and score an entire touchdown. You had before that fumble, you had it for 10 plays and 72 yards. So you took a lot of time. You took some time off the clock. We got the ball with 13 minutes and 23 seconds, and we took it down to 7 minutes. So, and then, of course, they went on a 17, and it was funny because I was texting people during the game, and I said, this has a Buffalo feel, because Washington then turned around and went on a 17-play drive for like 85 yards before they went out on downs. So they were moving the ball down the field on us. They were showing they didn't have the same fear of their offense, or excuse me, of our defensive line as they did in the second half. And Sam Howell kind of started putting it together. Sam Howell's a good quarterback. Sam Hill's not a bad quarterback. 22 of 42, 249 yards. He did have the interception. Was sacked 6 times. But I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I don't think he's going to be all pro. I don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowler, but he does have this. He does have this something about him. I mean, I think he's going to be more than an above average NFL quarterback. I love it because someone was telling me there was some people doing a live stream of the game that's saying that, well, Daniel Jones is better than Sam Howell. Not statistically, but okay. But where do the Giants go from here with the quarterback situation? Where do you go? Where do you go, my lovely? Oh yeah, we got a new Tyrod Taylor sound effect, just for the Tyrod.
Who's he? The OG QB.
I'm hoping the OG QB comes up like 7-up again against the Jets. I'm hoping he plays. I said I did find it interesting that if Daniel Jones did come back and he came back against the Jets, I think it would be a disaster because to me the Jets have a top 5 defense. They have a championship defense. They just don't have a quarterback. So I do find that interesting that we're going to head down that primrose path in the over this next week. That will Daniel Jones play? Will he not play? But you got to give everyone big props. I give big props to Darren Waller, big props to Hyatt, of course, and Banks. Deontay Banks, we're going to talk about in a minute, and Darius Slayton, and the whole defense itself. Bobby Okereke played another good game. Dexter Lawrence looked good. Hell, even
King of the almost sack
got his sack. I love it now because I said we were going to call him King of the one sack. But everyone seemed to have a good mixture. We did have 4 tackles for losses. But I keep seeing a trend that disturbs me a little bit. Washington had 8 tackles for losses. So again, we got doubled up on tackles for losses. Washington also had 4 sacks. We had 6 sacks. So the offensive line is still a work in progress. The offensive line, I love this with people. The offensive line has not gotten any better. The offensive line is just as bad as when Daniel Jones was under center. Justin Pugh is horrid. Justin Pugh is terrible. Justin Pugh, I love you to death, bro, and you were a good Giant, but you like Clint Eastwood used to say in Heartbreak Ridge, hey, don't go away, Matt. Just go away. Chase Young abused him. And again, in the second half, they started running away from the Justin Pugh side. And I think at times that caused the Washington Commanders the understanding that they need to start collapsing that side, and which would be the right side instead of going, So I mean, it's just the offensive line is still bad. Phillips, like I said, I love Phillips, man. Phillips came back and said, "I've learned a lot since I've been gone." And then he turned around at one point and just didn't even block anybody. And it was Montez Sweat went in and got a huge sack. He didn't even block him. He was literally standing there like, oh shit, we're playing football today. So the offensive line is not getting any better. So what's the common denominator? We've talked about this. I know what the common denominator is. You know what the common denominator it is.
Who's he? The OG QB.
It's the guy under center. We've said this a million times before, and I've said this a million times before. A lot of people on the show said it a million times before. You can have a terrible offensive line. Look at Eli Manning, 2011, 32nd ranked offensive line, and he still put up numbers, and he still took the Giants to the Super Bowl. You could have a bad offensive line and a great quarterback. A great quarterback is going to make your line better. A great quarterback is going to make your wide receivers better. Hell, a good quarterback is. So the difference is we had 7 sacks in the last 2 games and 10 in one game and 8 in the other one. What was the difference? The line has not gotten, we've lost players. The line has not gotten any better. It's the guy under center. And I'm sorry, if you have Tyrod Taylor, to me, like I said before, I love the OG QB. He's not the answer though. Hell, Tyrod Taylor is not even the question. The question is, you paid a guy $160 million who can't cut it because of the fact that he doesn't make anyone around him better. He doesn't process the play fast enough, and he's got 0 pocket presence or pocket awareness. There was the time that Chase Young was coming from Tyrod Taylor's blind side, and you saw that Tyrod sensed it, and then he cut and moved and went. He still took the sack because he's not fast. He's not as fast as he used to be. He understood he needed to run away from that side, and then I love it because Tyrod Taylor on his 20-yard run, which was a quarterback run, he checked out of that play. He must have saw something before the snap, and he checked out of the initial play, which was a run. But then I laugh because you watch him, he checked back into the same play. And then he went to a 20-yard run. I've talked about this before with Daniel Jones. It's okay to audible out of a play. It's okay to read the defense, look at something, process something, and say, okay, this is what they're going to do. I need to check out of this play and give my running back or wide receiver or tight end the ability to make a play. And we've talked about it before. Watch the ball placement with Tyrod Taylor. I had to hear against the All Shorts team that Daniel Jones had the best ball placement they had seen in years. But you're playing against the All Shorts team and the Cone team. It's a little different when you got the rush coming at you. Tyrod Taylor, not every time, but I would say the majority of the time, puts the ball in a position where the running back, the wide receiver, or the tight end can make a play and extend the play. They can get a little bit of a yak. Like I said, it was nice to see Wan'Dale Robinson get a 22-yard run because he was put in a position where he could split the defenders by Tyrod and make additional yardage. Daniel Jones has a tendency, we talked about it already, he throws people into contact. And I'm worried that we're going to go up against a Jet team who's got a great defense, a really good secondary, put Daniel Jones back there again, and we're going to go back to the same results as the Seattle game and the 49ers game. We're going to have a live stream today, so make sure everyone jumps on. So get your questions ready, jump on in, and let's talk about this big win. And as always, we're going to say it one more time. Who do we love?
Who's he? The OG QB.
And again, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to ring that bell because you want to know why. That'd be awesome.